It's not a cutesy little game that you play by taking on a nice vocabulary. You will be at odds with the world. You will be in disjunction. It will not mean to you what it means to others. You'll feel uncomfortable, and you'll make others uncomfortable just by what you are in yourself, who want you to confirm them in their relationship with the world, but your very indifference to their values and success makes them to be threatened. And therefore, the way for them to solve the dilemma is to get rid of you, one way or the other. And the whole history of the true apostolic church, that unbroken continuum, is the history of persecution unto death, not by the world, but by religious bodies that cannot stand the apostolic reality because it blows the whistle on its fraudulence and shows it to be synthetic and false and only superficially religious. And the way to get rid of that threat is to get rid of them. So the Hutterites and the Mennonites and all of these radical wings of the Reformation, their whole history is filled with violence, with rejection, with persecution, being cast out and moved to other countries because their presence could not be tolerated by religious bodies who wanted to enjoy a status quo and did not make any requirement of its believers, and whose religious leaders were flunkies and public officials who baptized them and gave them certificates of citizenship. But here were earnest believers. They were called in German, die Stille im Lande, the quiet ones in the earth. No noise, nothing conspicuous, but the quality of their life. Look how they love one another. No man thought that the thing which he had was his own. They had all things common. Those that believed were together in a real togetherness that was more than sitting alongside each other in pews and retreating back to their privacy when the service is over. They remained. They were in community. They had a lifestyle. There was a mode of being that was heavenly. And those that are in the earth religiously cannot abide the presence of those people. And the only answer is to get them out, or to burn them at the stake, or to take the young girls and tie them back to back and dump them into the rivers that flow through the city Zurich and expunge their presence, because their presence blows the whistle on the fraudulence of the religious profession that calls itself Christian. You know what I believe? We're going to see the reiteration of that again in the last days. Are you prepared for martyrdom? Why me? If that's your attitude, you're not prepared. But to count it privilege. And you don't have to go out and look for it. It will be the logic of a truly believing life. As for me, I'm not expecting to die in bed. In fact, this may well be my last trip, going to Malaysia and Indonesia, where a Jewish Christian and American head would be a trophy. And if not there, then somewhere else. But the logic of a life truly lived in God invites martyrdom. And it's not some masochistic thing over which we become maudlin, M-A-U-D-L-I-N, which is falsely sentimental. The remarkable thing is that should that be the conclusion of our life, the logic of a life rightly lived, we count it privilege. We obtain a crown, which we'll be able to lay at the feet of the Lord in eternal honor, because we're living in the realm of what is eternal. And the momentary suffering that by which our death has come as martyrs is counted privilege and not fate. The true church is a martyr church. Not that we will necessarily have to suffer such an abrupt extinction, but we're living in a particular way. Martyrdom is a lifestyle by which your life is not your own. Isn't that what it says in Revelation? They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives unto the death. That's definitive Christianity, you dear saints. How close are you to it today? How close are you willing to come and be fitted to stand in that dimension in the last days and not be among those who dwell in the earth? They'll either be the heavenly minded or the earth dwellers. And the earth dwellers will not be able to stand the prophets, few though they be, whose words torment them. And when these prophets are killed, they give each other gifts because they're rid of the nuisance of such men whose indictment they could not bear. There's two classes of people at the end of the age: earth dwellers and the heavenly minded. Paul had his citizenship in heaven. What does that mean? That's just not where he was registered. It's where his thought had its origin, his purpose, his understanding, his inspiration, his values. His life was essentially lived from that place and from that center. Well, such a heavenly minded man has got to be irrelevant in the earth. That's how much you know. The fact of the matter is, because he's heavenly minded, he will be the more relevant in the earth. Who is it that gives the church counsel on how to take communion, how to deal with the erring sinner, how to restore such a one back to the faith, or what to do with the widows, what to exhort slaves? Paul is full of practical, immediate counsel, all the more because he has his citizenship in heaven. And I have to say, in all love, you guys are not sufficiently heavenly minded.